Welcome back to the 12th episode. This episode is totally dedicated to showing that map view with the direction from my current location to the airport. So, whatever I'm going to select as my airport, if it is within my country, then it's going to draw the direction from my location to the airport and then also show you some data related to um, the runway length, which city state details, etc., plus some other information about the airport. That's pretty much what we are trying to do in this episode, where we make it more interactive, use that data like the model which is carrying, let's say, the geographical coordinates along with my current coordinate. If I can use that to plot something in the map, that will make this more interesting. That is the whole intention in this episode. So let's get started. So we already have this view where if you go to this screen, you can actually launch an airport details view, but then we don't have an implementation yet. So that's what we are going to do right now. Have that view with some more information of what we need to show. So let's do that. We have the airports view. I don't need this label anymore. Instead, I'm going to drag a MapKit. Map view. Maybe cover 60% of the whole view. That's gonna take up some space. Trailing. Then bottom we need to have a stack view. I'm gonna add a stack view because it's going to carry some information about the airport. Just adding a stack view there. Leading, trailing, bottom. Then maybe use this vertical spacing. What did I miss? Bottom, trailing, leading, and then MapKit is having a vertical spacing. Okay, let's keep adding. Maybe have an height to this. Okay, that's pretty much what I wanted to do. That's pretty much done. So let's add our, or maybe restrict this one with the height so that map views remains dynamic. Let me add my labels which is needed. I need some labels here. Okay, that's pretty much maybe 3-4 labels. I'm gonna just copy the same thing. I guess that's enough. Make it center aligned, all of them. Centered. And then let me see what is the styling which I have done for each and everything. So I am having 4 of them. Everything is Avenir font. So maybe I'll start adding, this is Avenir custom font. Where do I have it? Avenir heavy. Size being 26, and I have a custom color applied. I'm just gonna use that same color. So even you can do this from the view model itself. If you have the colors, if you want to configure everything, you can even do that. I'll just maybe do that once I'm done with this. We already have this final color chosen. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna call it airport name, and then I guess all of the fonts are going to be the same kind of Avenir. So I'm gonna use that at once. Avenir. Where's my font? Avenir. Yeah, and then maybe just apply those specific height and styles. Avenir book. Oh, this is Avenir book, which is of size 16. That's it, I guess. That's a distance. This one, oh, it not take that font. Maybe 20. And that can be a bold, semi-bold, maybe medium. I guess country. Finally, the runway length. It can be a small one. Maybe it's 14 maybe. It's already Avenir. And it can be a light font. Yeah, and then maybe let it be a secondary color. Secondary label color. That's enough. Fine. Maybe we can have a little bit of spacing for each and everything. 5 is enough. Looks good. Maybe a little more. 8. Yeah, that's enough. So maybe we can restrict its height to, maybe not restrict its height, because what's the state now? It is showing as, it's fine, I guess, because it's gonna take up this height of whatever is going to get added to this. So we don't have an issue here. This needs to be dynamic. Maybe it can have multi-line. I'm just keeping it as 0, maybe because it can fill in. It's all fill. So maybe see, when you have a bigger airport name, then it has to take up more space. So that's my runway length. Enough. That's enough. So we need to have outlets for each and everything. So let's add that. Oops. So used to the older Xcode. Let's go back. So where is my view? That's my view. Let's, what am I doing? Let's ask for the assistant. Guess that'll do. Airport view controller. We don't need all this. Let's quickly grab everything. Map view kit. You can just call it as map view. It's going to ask for MapKit. Yeah. Then airport name label, distance label, country label. It's going to be state and country together. Still, let's keep it as country label. And finally, the runway length label. 5 things. That's the job done for this view. Now we don't need to go back there, hopefully. So let's close that out. Now it's all about this view. Now we need a view model for this so that it can start accepting the values. So for that, let's create that view model here. New file. I'm gonna call this as what did we call? Airport details view model. Airport details view model. Keeping it a class. And this needs to have a corresponding protocol defined. Airport details view presentable. This is going to have the same kind of things like input, output, then the properties related to that, input, maybe even keep it type, specific type, get where output, same type, dot output. Then let's implement this one somewhere here, create an extension, airports, maybe keep it here itself because we need the properties. So it'll ask to implement now. Output is not a member. Why? Output, okay. Fix airport input output. That's enough. Two properties and still needs an initializer. Let's do that init. So we need to start accepting the input through the init so that you can set that first thing first, input, but then output needs to be generated out. So we need to create a function, maybe airport details view model, airport details view model, keep it as private, create a function called output which can maybe accept input, not sure, but still we're just passing it so that it can generate the output. Then return. Right now output is just an empty tuple, so I'm just passing that. Keep this static so that we have the self dot output to be airport view model dot output function passing the input. So I can just pass the self dot input there. Hope this will be okay. So we did this much right now. So what all things normally we do pass in a view model. So you need a model for sure. So we even need this. So you can say it's going to use this model even here. So that we can actually pass as a dependency. Let's create something called as a dependency now. Type alias dependencies, which is going to be model airport model. Let's keep that as empty for the time being, rest of the thing then sees, and then let's create a dependency. Need that. Let's just pass this input and then the dependencies, which is going to be of this specific it's coming from the view model. Do we normally keep dependencies as something? I don't think we keep it anywhere else. Let's check where is that we have accepted dependencies. We have accepted it here, so it's part of presentable. So it's even fine that we can keep it inside the presentable like this. So type alias, I can even say that dependencies can go inside type aliases. So it's going to be asking for a dependencies here. So I can accept even dependencies. That's enough. Dependencies of this type dependencies. So model is received. Now we can do something using that model because only the one parameter right now we have passed is model. So dependencies is required there. So now let's create something called as similar things like whatever we have done earlier. Every view model has something called as a view model builder. So even here, like, we can just blindly use that view model builder. That's my view model builder, but at least in this case it's going to be this, accepts this input and then creates airports details view presentable as the output. So that's done. Now all that we need is to use this. Similar to this, we have to have it inside our view controllers like this. So on view did load, we use that to create the view model. So we need to include our view models within the view controller. Let's do that. So private let private var view model is of specific type airport details view presentable. Why there is a space? And then we need the internal variable called view model builder, which is going to be of type airport presentable dot view model builder. That's it. And then we are going to use this to create self.view model is going to be created using this view model builder, passing the input as input tuple. Right now we don't have input tuple is empty, so we're just passing an empty so that it creates you the view model. So that's done, but we need to now set this view model reference from the coordinator. Like here we have the view, but we don't have the reference of view model, so we can do that here. Like maybe keep a space view model view dot view model builder. This is where we pass the reference of the view model builder, which is we need to pass an input and then use that to build the view model, which is airport details view model, which is accepting input as one parameter and dependencies. So input, we have it here. We can always you make it as $0. That's accepting, and model dependencies are model. We need the airport model. So airport model is something we need to pass through. This coordinator needs to accept the model, so we can just pass that input, similar to how airport's coordinator got created. Even there we were passing models. Instead, in this case, it is a model. So we need to pass model, which is airport model, and the routing part. So we need to have a private property to store that model locally, airport model. So self dot model is going to be model. Why is it so difficult for me to type? Maybe I'll rearrange so that it's accepted in that same order in which we are. Not much a big deal, but just feeling, yeah, maybe. So we can pass that to that model. We can pass when the view model builder is happening. So that's done. So we have the view model reference created, because we are going to use this like later when we have to dismiss or something. At that point we might have to do something here. So maybe just maybe let's not do that right now. I was thinking create a variable and then return it, but I don't think that will be needed at this point, because we are not going to do much once no actions are happening. So maybe we don't need that right now. I'm just going to create it like this: view associating the view model builder, and this view model just gets created when the view did load happens of the view controller. So that's going to happen right now, and this view model is going to be, and this model is going to be received through the airport details view model like this. It's coming through these dependencies. So we have the dependencies, model is received. We can use that model to actually chart the map view, because model is carrying latitude and longitude of that specific airport. So we also need our current location, which can also be used through the dependency. So how can you pass it? We were passing it even during when we were creating this airport, where we were passing the current location. So you can even use that. So I'm gonna just use that in the dependencies we need to add that. So where is our dependencies right now? It is here. So instead of having this empty one, I'm going to use this. So we have the model and the current location, two things. So current location can be used to get you the current location information and use that to actually chart that whole map path. So import RxSwift because observable is not identified. That should fix it, but now it's asking me to pass the current location even here. So maybe make it more readable. I'm gonna keep it all because this is I can maybe pass a model here. I don't know whether it will cause any memory issues, but I'm just using that. Model is being passed there. So I'm just passing it, capturing the closure and passing it. Now this should be current location, which is available through the one service. Let's create that. Let location service. We have location service dot in shared instance. I can use that location service to get the current location. Current location, I guess that should be done. It's asking for something more. Router, okay, because we did not pass the model, it's asking me to pass the model. Now I can just pass the model here, that's it, and the router. So everything's fine now. We managed to pass the current location and the airport's location through the model, so that's all done. Now we can use that to build something like a view model. We already have a view model for, but maybe we can still extend those view models because we need to also show these information like where is my main screen? So we need to show this information plus plot this map. So those two things are pending now. So these are pretty simple. This is something we need to work a little. So first let's finish this and then do this. So let's start binding these things. Do we have this information with us already? Let's see. So whatever it is needed there is a view model, a driver. So that is going to go back as an output to the view controller. So we need to define a output. First thing is we need this information of these airport name, distance, country, and runway length. I think that is already there with us. Like I can just maybe call it as airport details. Airport details. Maybe driver. It does not identify driver because Rx Coco is not imported. Yeah, and then I think I have airport view model. This is having enough information I can use to see. It has the formatted distance, name, code, address, distance, runway length, everything. Also it's carrying the location information. So this is all. I don't need that location. I'm using that location information to calculate the distance. So this is my first part. Like how am I going to represent this information that is already there, similar to whatever we were showing in this table views cell. Each cell is actually some more like this. So we already have that information with us. So we can use that same view model to represent these things. Distance anyway we're calculating. Plus this is something we need to actually create separately. So that I'm going to use differently. So let's use this airport model. Is that what we need to create? So how am I going to send this back? Airport details. It's already giving me an error here. So that's because I don't have this property. It's going to be a driver. So we need to get that driver here. So how am I going to use that? I need the dependencies as well. Airport dot dependencies. See, depend then dependencies. Okay, dependencies is dependencies. Okay, so I'm gonna use the dependencies to get the model dot as a model. So I can use that to create a view model. I can map it model. So that for that I need to use a driver. So I'm gonna say driver.just dependencies.model.map into something else. So I am gonna transform this model into a view model. So I have the airport view model, who's using model and current locations. It as accepting two things. So I can use that to, this is my $0 because just gives me map, just and map gives me $0, which is the model. Now we need also the current location. How am I passing that? Let me just verify that once. Okay, better, because I already have something which is actually, maybe I'll just recreate this one so that it's not confusing. I already have an observable using which I can create whatever we need. So I have a dependencies dot current location which I can map. So this current location is giving me the current location itself as a $0. So I can use that to actually create. Before that, I can even say, because this is going to be a nullable type, so I can always say filter and check whether it's existing or not. $0 is not equal to nil. That means I'm forcing that filter to check this. After that, if I map it, I'm always going to get something which is current location. I can force cast it always. So map $0 force cast, because you know that it's not going to be of any other type. I'm just going to call this as airport details driver. It's going to be a driver finally. I'm going to use that here and an empty one. So that's ready. As soon as this gets ready, I'm going to get the final airports driver, which needs to be of type airport view model. That's what we are trying to, airport view presentable or view model. Did we actually say airport view model? This should be airport view presentable, this because that it should always expose the protocol of it, not the whole implementation of the view model. So okay, here it is already asking for the dependencies to be passed. So I'm just gonna say dependencies. That should be fine, but here we still have to convert it into a model. So lat long is coming there, and details is going to only be fetched. Should I actually do a filter? It's okay, fine. It's doing a filter. It's going to only send a signal if current location is existing. Otherwise, or maybe I should. Okay, that's fine. Force cast it, and then I'm gonna use this to again map it. It's going to give me the current location, and also I'm gonna use that model dot dependencies here. Dependencies I already have. Sorry. Dependencies dot model is going to give me the airport model in, and $0 is my current location. Maybe I can just for current location so that it's not confusing for you guys. I'm just capturing this variable called dependencies.model airport model and using the current location, which is something I'm transforming. This is my observable, current location observable, and I get the value as soon as I map it. I'm also checking that it's not nil. If it is not nil, I'm force casting it to get me the current location. Otherwise it will not send a signal. And then I map it and get that current location value here. That's what is happening here. And once I get that value, I can use now these things to create my view model. So I'm going to return a view model here, airport view model. It's going to ask for model which is my airport model, this one, and the current location, lat and long. I think I can directly pass that current location. It's a double value, I hope. Is that giving me an error? No. So that's pretty much okay. Now I need to convert this into a driver. So I'm going to make it as a driver. If there is no value, I don't drive it. I make it return empty. Cannot convert. Return type of airport to airport view model. What is wrong there? Driver airport view presentable. Do I need to cast it to this specific type? Airport view presentable. Okay, this should be of type driver. This is a driver. That's it. So we managed to create this airport model, and now we need to airport details driver we created, and it's available through the output. So now output is consumed by the view controller. So now it's a job of the view controller to start subscribing to these things. First thing, let's subscribe that one. So let's go to airports view controller and create some functions there. Extension airport details view controller, extension private extension, and let's have a function called setup. Similar things, setup UI and setup bindings. Setup binding, it's nothing but logically we are just keeping everything in one place. Self dot setup UI. If you need to do some UI setup, it goes there. If you need to set up some subscriptions, it goes within binding. So subscription is what we are looking at. Also this title, maybe setup UI will not be used much here. Let's see. So setup binding, we already have the view model. View model has the output, so we can use that to get the airport details. Now it's the job to map this value and then start setting those values to the specific properties of each and every fields which we have defined. Let's say the title and everything. So that's a map, and then I can use that map. So it's going to receive the view model here, view model in, and then we need to call the same drive and then dispose by bag. So we need to define a bag again here. RxSwift is not there. Let's define that. RxSwift, and then private let bag dispose bag. Redundant pattern, but you need to use it everywhere for it to dispose. So we are going to receive the values through the setup binding. So we're going to use that to it can be $0, but I'm just keeping it as the view model. So it starts with airport name label. Properties, let's keep that weak self so that we don't leak. Weak self, so self dot name airport name quells view model dot, I guess name comes in. Self dot what do we have? Distance label dot text. It's also coming back as formatted view model dot distance, formatted distance. Then self dot country label dot text. It's going to come back as location, or is it like address? I guess address. Then self dot the length, runway length text, we have a property for runway length, view model dot runway length. So that's, let me just verify what is there within the runway length once. Runway length, okay, we say runway length if it is okay, that's cool. So we already handled it there, we just need to map it and show that. So I guess this is the first step. This should actually show us, I think end to end we have bound it, starting from, let's say, airports view model, where we are sending that value through the airport. Okay, where is it? That it starts with the coordinator, airport's coordinator, pass the value through the coordinator, the model is passed, and then it's received in the coordinator. Using that value, it's being set here, and then on start you're creating the view model builder, and then using through that you're sending $0 and the model and the current location, every detail. And within the view controller you are setting the view model and then accepting that input, which in turn creates a view model. So on view model creation you have the input and the output set. So output value we are sending through this. I guess this is enough to show the first part of it, not the map, but at least the other information which is required. Let's run and see. Yeah, while using the app, Mumbai. Yeah, it's showing now because it picked up the distance, at least the current location, and it showed you all the other details because it did not filter out. Otherwise it was just filtering because the current location was not available. Ideally it should not have done that, because just because this is not there, it's not showing the whole other information which is not correct. So maybe that code part can be changed to fit in if but the idea here is that I need to show that information, at least the map view. So I don't still have that top view to dismiss. That's crazy. So yeah, I can do that at least. So that executing here. So let's do the other part now, where we are going to show this map information. That's coming up right away because that's the more interesting part now. So let's do that, and it's going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of coding is required there. So let's get started with that. So for that, let's create one more view model only for that specific purpose. I'm gonna call it airport map view model. So that's very specific for the map. That's why just that name. Keep it as a struct, airport map view model. Create a protocol, airport map view presentable, and this is going to be implemented by this, and we're going to add some properties required. So there are three properties needed here. One is that airport that needs to show in the map couple of information, like what is the name of the airport, as well as which is the city in which that airport belongs to. Those two information I'm gonna keep within this property. And then I have a property called current location, which is gonna carry lat and long, lat double, long double. Similar property called airport location. I'm just gonna rename this airport location lat and long. So this is now going to ask me to implement these three. Implemented, current location, this location, three properties. That's it. So this is what I'm going to use to draw on the map. These three I have right now. So now I need to create a property similar to what we did as a driver we created, let's go to the airport models, create a property called map details driver. That's it. Airport map view presentable. So this is now asking me to generate that map details. So let's do that. Let map details be of type driver airport map view presentable, and it's going to generate similar kind of things. Dependencies dot current location, it's going to use that similar kind of approach. Map it. I think I can just directly grab the whole thing and then say filter map and drive finally, but whatever it creates is something different. So instead of airport map view model, it's going to create airport instead of airport view model, it's going to create airport map view model, and it's going to accept name code. Okay, not all those. Airport map view model, that's accepting an airport. Three things: airport name, that's coming through the model. So airport model dot name, then this city name city, which is also coming with this airport dot city. Two things: current location, which we know is this one, current location, and the airport location, which is the lat and long. Lat airport model dot latitude, it's a string type. So we need to do that first thing. We need to convert that. How did I do that in the first place? Details view model. Okay, I did a guard and then created that. Okay, let's do that. Guard let lat equal to double airport model dot lat long, same thing, double airport model dot long. If that is existing, I continue, else I just throw an error. Maybe throw custom, we already have custom error dot error. I'm just gonna say airport location missing. That's it. And then I create airport location lat being this lat and long being the other long. That's enough. And then use that to send it to this one. Created airport view model, just that we need to return that. Still it's giving me error because I need to pass this map details. That's enough, it succeeded. So all that we did was map details using the current driver observable object current location, which is carrying the current location information. I'm using that to do all this stuff, and then mapping that to get the current location, and also using the dependency which we pass like the model, and then creating a view model called airport view model, which is carrying that required information to create your map, which can be bound with the map. So airport view model is now ready, it's available through the output. All that we need to do is go to the airports view details view controller and then use that self dot view model to output airport map details map. Then it's going to give you another view model and then we are going to use that to do something here. That's going to be interesting. So we don't have anything defined yet for that. So it's receiving this value here, the map details. Map it, you get that airport map view model. You need to now start drawing that. So for that, maybe another interesting thing we could have done is we could have moved this to setup UI, whole of that to this function, so that we just using the view model, airport view model, view presentable. We are not exposing the view model but presentable, so that I can just call this self.setup UI here using the view model. So I can just pass that view model. I don't need these, so I can pass $0 itself. So that's a simple hack. Setup UI comes into picture now. So we need to create something similar to that called setup map UI. Interesting. Passing another view model here called airport map view presentable. So I'm passing the presentable, and then I can now call this weak self dot setup map UI, pass the view model $0. Interesting. So we are very close to rendering the map. So we have the map setup map view accepting a view model. So now this is where we are going to create the map. So we already have the, okay, it's asking me, we don't need this here because we are already calling this somewhere here as soon as this value is received, so that's not needed. So we have the setup binding, which is actually doing everything that we need. So the setup map UI is going to use this map view which we have defined here. So there are lots of steps for that. Let's start doing that. I'm also going to refer whatever I have implemented because there are so many steps in rendering a map. So first thing first, we need lots of things. First being the current point, airport point, current pin, airport pin, and then add some annotations, placement markers, lots of stuffs are there. So let's keep doing that now. So let me first capture the current point, which is nothing but it uses CL location coordinate 2D, and it accepts latitude and longitude to create that current point. So current point is nothing but my current location, which is available through view model dot current location to dot latitude, view model dot current location dot longitude. So that's my current point. It creates a point out of these latitude and longitude. Then I have the airport point, CL location 2D, same stuff, just that instead of current location it should be airport location, latitude and longitude. That creates you airport point and the current point. Now we need to create two pins which you see whenever in a map. If you want to see the current location, it shows a point. For that, let's create a custom pin. I'm gonna call it a folder called pins. I'm gonna call it as airport pin. That's going to be a class airport pin, and that's going to implement, I think, annotation pin or something, MK annotation. So MK annotation, which is part of MapKit, MK annotation. So we need to have a title, subtitle, and a location coordinate. three things. So coordinate is mandatory, rest of the two things are optional, so we need an init for that. And I'm gonna pass city as the, maybe airport as the title, airport name. Maybe I'll call it as name as the title, then city as the subtitle, and then coordinate, CL location coordinate 2D. So this can be optional because for the current location I'm not gonna set any city, so I'm just keeping it as optional. And then I'm gonna call city.self.name equal to self.title is equal to name, self.subtitle is equal to city, and self.coordinates is equal to coordinate. So that's my custom pin, airport pin. It needs NS object, so NS object is needed. Okay, so that's my airport pin that's created. Now I'm going to use it here. So I'm going to create a current pin. Let current pin be my airport pin, which accepts, in this case I'm just going to call it as current, and I'm going to pass the current point. Current point is passed. Now let's create the airport pin, which is going to be the airport pin. I need all the three things there. Like I'm going to use the view models other properties like airport.name and view model.airport.city to information, and finally the airport pin coordinate, airport point coordinate. So that's all you use now. So we have the current pin, airport pin created. So this is what is going to be added as the annotation 2 points. So let's do that. So we already have the MapKit map view. I can just say add annotations and then pass these two, current pin and the airport pin. Airport pin. Annotations are added, but we are not done yet. There are so many more steps. Cannot convert current pin. Okay, it should be current pin. Current pin. So we are just done with adding the points right now. We need to now have more things like place markers and get the directions using those place markers and everything. So let's do that. So now let's create something called as current place mark. It's coming part of MK place mark. It's more like, again, uses your coordinates to get that place mark. Current point, pass that current point. And then the airport destination. This is more like source and destination. Current place mark and the destination place mark. Destination is going to be my airport, MK place mark. Coordinate, airport point. So this is actually creating a couple of things: current place mark, destination place mark. Now I'm going to use this to create a direction request. Lots of things. So let me create a direction request, something called as a direction request, which is part of mk directions dot direction request, direction dot request. So it's like creating a request for a direction, and the direction request will start accepting now a source and destination, which we have created using these place marks. That's the reason we have these. So I'm gonna say direction request dot source. It's going to be mk. It's going to be of type mk map item. Then in turn will accept for a place mark. That's the reason we created these place marks. So source direction place mark, pass that to create the set the source for the location. And now direction request dot destination, again not description, destination, again mk map item place mark, and pass the destination place mark, which is the airport destination place mark. That's also done. So what is left? Now you need to define what is the type of transport type. I'm going to set it as transport type. I'm going to keep it as automobiles. I'm not keep choosing. There are options like if it is inter country, you can maybe keep it as, I don't think there is something like that. Walking, transit, automobile, I'm going to keep it as automobile. So it's only going to take a request which is like possible. Automobile, I did not see it happening between countries, so I'm just gonna test it with city between cities. So let's see that. Hope it shows, because in a simulator I don't know how it's gonna work. Transport type is automobile, and then I'm gonna create a directions request. Now using that direction request, I'm gonna create something called as a directions using a request. So this request we created now, direction request, and set source those parameters using this place mark and all. So we created the directions. Now it's gonna calculate that direction, and based on that direction it's gonna add some overlays like the routing and all. It's pretty lengthy process, I would say. Directions dot calculate is a completion handler, directions handler. So it's going to give me a response and an error. So first thing first, if there is an error, let's handle that. Error is equal to error. I'm gonna say return something is wrong. I'm gonna print the error. Error dot localize description. Else, let's continue. I'm gonna get the route out of this, so that first route out of this, because it can draw multiple routes for the same direction. So there can be multiple directions for between two locations. I'm gonna get the first direction at least, and then add an overlay to that. Response dot routes, all the routes, and I'm gonna take the first route out of it. Else I'm gonna return if there is no route defined. So I get the first route here of all the directions which is defined, and then I'm gonna add overlay, and then I'm gonna use that route to draw a polyline. That's my line, and it's going to be above roads. Maps.overlay is added now. Reference map view, maybe pass it as a captured closure. Above roads member, route add overlay. Why it's not asking? Working. Add overlay. Map view dot add overlay. Okay, that's the reason. Above roads. That's fine. Now let's do the other part. I'm gonna animate the remaining things. UI dot animate with duration and animations. Duration maybe 1.5, and then animation. Within animation I'm gonna pass map view, and then let's create a map rectangle. There are still steps. This is just adding that overlay. Now you need that rectangle or something. So I get the route, dot can also pass the route here. Route dot polyline dot bounding map rectangle, and using that let's define something called as a region. So this is map rectangle. We're going to define the region on which we are going to draw it. MK coordinate region, it's asking for this rectangle, so I'm gonna use that. It's all procedural process that we need to follow to draw in a map. So that's what I'm doing here, and then I'm gonna use that map view to set the region map rectangle, not the map rectangle, I need the region. Even I could have used the map rectangle. Set region MK coordinate region, that's what I have defined here. I'm going to use that region animated true. I guess one part of the things are done right now. I don't think it will still draw it because we need to still implement one more delegate for this to actually show the map. So many steps for setting up a map is done. We can even and capture it and create it as a separate UI control or a UI view and then add it on top of it if it is reusable. Otherwise I'm just keeping it over here itself. So these are the steps to actually render the map, and now we need to implement one more protocol or at least a delegate so that the map view works properly. So that is going to be as soon as I say, it's going to ask me to implement a map. So within here I'm going to say self dot map view dot delegate self. So it's going to ask me to implement airport details view controller, need to implement MK map view delegate. So I'm going to do that now. Create an extension, airports details, airport details view controller implements MK map view delegate, and it needs a very specific delegate called renderer for. That's done. So that's what is needed, and within this we are going to do the renderer part now. Renderer MK polyline renderer. I think this is the one which starts rendering things. Pass the overlay renderer dot stroke length. Stroke color is going to be, I have something defined called reddish. I don't have it. Okay, that's strange. So I need to add that. So I have something in my actual project, a UI extension. I'm going to directly import that to my, I guess, shared location. I don't have anything in the shared now. Shared does not have it. So I'm just going to create UI color extension, UI color plus extension, then add that here. So that's my color called reddish pink, which I'm gonna use. So that's available now. So renderer dot stroke color is going to be dot reddish pink, and I'm gonna keep a line width. Renderer dot line width, I'm gonna keep it as 2 maybe, and then return the renderer. I guess that's the last step for map thing. That's also done. Now we already set the map delegate here, so it should be okay. So lots of steps: current point, airport point, current point, current pin, airport pin. Add those as annotations and create a current place mark to actually create something called as a MK directions request, and then do some more stuff, set the transport type, and then do this calculate, which is actually finally doing the setting region part, and some more implementation for MapKit view delegates. Maybe Let's see what is the final result now. Let's run. Hope we have the current location, otherwise nothing is going to work. Mumbai. It's calculating. Where is this location even? I am not able to set my current location, so it just gave me a pin saying this is the airport, but it's not drawing it actually because it's not able to get my current location. So how do I do it? Because it's showing somewhere else in India itself. Okay, that's fine. Current location is, I don't know where it is. So maybe I'll have to do a hard coding. The coordinate, I don't know what coordinate it is picking. $37 and minus 122. Maybe I'll just hard code something and just to show you that it's not working in a simulator. Bangalore coordinates. It's going to be 129176. Gonna hard code it. Current location. And 775946. That's my current location. I'm just gonna use that to maybe show you how it actually works if you are in your device. Yeah, that's what I wanted to show. So it's like plotting your location. That's my current location, and nicely plotting the Mumbai airport. So that's what I wanted to show. So dismiss, go back and search for Bangalore airport. It's going to show the same locations. Okay, at least it is showing current somewhere else, and this calculation is wrong because it's picking up some other location, so it's a reason simulators are not reliable for this testing. Maybe there might be some way of doing it. Maybe you can let me know through because mostly I rely on my devices, not simulators. So that's the calculation, distance, and even plotting towards the airport. I'm pretty sure that's not going to show something which is there in US or someplace, because again it does not show between countries. So if I say New York, it's just gonna show me my current location. It's not going to show the map view. It's just going to show me. So that's what I wanted to try doing in this. So if you want to see the memory map, if there is any leak, it's pretty decent. I don't see any map details, airport details coordinator being there. So that's also sorted. Pretty much we are at the end of this tutorial, where the whole idea was to actually show you how to present a view here and then dismiss, how to handle that during dismiss, and also made this part a little bit interactive. So because we had the information of the current location, I just thought, okay, maybe use that to show your location details and also direction towards your airport. It's only picking up the first. Maybe if I show you the last location, there might be different routes. but that's not the whole point. It's just about how to actually use this data to do something with that. So I guess this was interesting. We have maybe two more episodes left where I need to show you how to animate this view. Like once you are once the app is launching, and also need to handle this dismiss part. Okay, once your app is launching, there is no, it just shows you nothing. So I might add some empty view using view models. And also, once the app launches, we don't have any indicator that the data is loading or something. So that, if I add that, it makes it a little more interactive. That user experience will be better. So that's the intention in the coming up episode. Maybe I'll just wind up within one episode or maybe two if I need to keep it. Like maybe it's better that I keep it two, because one is more for user experience, the other is more for frameworks being kept differently. So it's modular, you're keeping it as much modular as possible. And how to work with frameworks, that is another thing we'll look into in the couple of episodes which is coming up. So until then, stay subscribed, like my videos, even earlier ones, share it if you like. And then I have very less number of viewers, so you need to help me with that. And my code is available in Patreon. You can go and subscribe there if you want to. All these episodes are available there. All these two code base is available there. So until the next episode, it's bye from me.